Hello everyone, this is Big Money. Buying a new phone? Sorry about this intro guys, this video is going to be a bit different as I'm not going to analyze anything related to passive income or making money. Instead, I will just show you a new phone by Solana built by the awesome team. This device was developed with the aim of bringing the world of crypto closer to everyday practical use of a handheld phone. I have to emphasize that I am really not a typical phone consumer. I usually upgrade my phone roughly around every 4 or 5 years. I'm not the one to swap to the latest models every time there is something new coming out, let alone standing queues to have my hands on the latest gadget just to buy it for shameless prices. In terms of the price tag I'm willing to accept, I always consider the hardware that is inside the device, and as I have a fair understanding of the value of the components, I would never really spend money on a new iPhone, for instance. The other confession I have to make in the beginning is that I am not a fan of the Solana project either. I understand its mission, I get why it's important, but for me it was just simply never appealing enough to disregard all the critical problems that they had in the past. So the question comes naturally, why would I buy a $1,000 phone from Solana? Well, let me explain in this video, and I believe that by the end you will understand why someone so picky about hardware and sensitive about prices would choose to go with this phone. First of all, let's see the main specifications and compare them with other similar devices on the market. As you can see, the Solana phone comes out on top in some categories, in others it's basically the same, but the only category where it's a step back or half a step back is the processor, which is the Snapdragon 8 Plus Generation 1. Other than that, everything is pretty much the same. Of course, it doesn't shoot 8K video, but I don't think anyone would actually need it. So as you can see, the Saga phone has a really nice price per value ratio compared to the others. Of course, you can argue for or against each model based on personal preferences, but I was thinking to myself, this could actually be something useful for me, as mostly I do crypto on my phone apart from communication. I use a camera for photography, so the Xiaomi 13 with its Leica lenses was not really something very important for me, even though the pictures it takes are just simply mind-blowing. The Samsung for its price was also out of the question for me. One sleepy morning in a weekend, I noticed a Twitter post which basically said that there is a pre-sale registration for $100, and if you purchase the registration token, you would be able to get the phone from the priority shipments once they are ready, and you would also get like an early access to NFTs and whatnot. So in a rush decision, I registered in the pre-sale, and when the time came to finalize the purchase, I was shocked a little bit because I had to realize that the phone would be shipped from the US, which means not just an expensive shipping cost, but even worse, additional costs for import duties and local VAT to be paid. Me being in the European Union, it would easily add another 35% on top of the net price of the phone, and I was just simply not ready to pay over $1,300 for a new gadget, so I was ready to abandon this idea of upgrading to Solana Mobile. However, not long ago I got a notice from Solana that there is going to be a solstice sale, where the earliest applicants would be able to snatch the phone for the amazing price of $420.69. Yeah. Now, this was the point where yet again I changed my mind and got super excited about getting my hands on a phone with this price tag. Now, Big Money just cannot simply resist such a deal. I was lucky enough to place my bid exactly at the very second the sale opened, and my order was confirmed. I was looking at this breakdown, and at the end the phone cost me just above $500 including shipping and taxes. Essentially, I got myself a crypto phone for less than half of what I would be paying if I chose any other major device. The shipping was extremely fast and convenient. Once it got into Europe, of course I had to go through the painstaking procedure of customs clearance, but even that was okay. FedEx delivered my phone within a couple of days. So, what is in the box? I have to say upfront that the packaging is rather elegant. There is nothing too fancy or too minimalistic. It just contains the most necessary things. It would have been nice of them to include a fast charger, but at least the cable is a really good one with a privacy switch. The touch and feel of the phone would suggest that it is targeted mainly at male consumers, as it is quite big compared to the others, and the ceramic build makes it a bit heavy. So small and fragile hands might find it too much, but other than that, the overall impression that this is something serious. Generally speaking, the phone is a powerhouse. It's extremely fast. The 120Hz display just brings the entire visual experience to another level. Prime example for this is the recording at 60 FPS videos and then watching them back just makes you feel like you're there. It's so vivid and realistic. The performance of the hardware is also stunning. Apps load up in a question of milliseconds. Everything is snappy and instantaneous, as you would expect from this Snapdragon chip. Games also run blazingly fast, if that is any major point for anyone. The internal storage is like greased lightning, and one of the extras this phone has is the option to add an external micro SD card, so you can achieve actually a much bigger space in your device. This is something which is not very common among the other high-end phones of today. Connectivity is up to the latest standards. It has Wi-Fi 6E, 5G LTE on both SIM cards, Bluetooth 5.2. There is no infrared blaster, however, if that is a point for anyone. The battery capacity is 4,110 milliampere hours, which is enough for a full day of operation. But honestly, I would have been much happier with the 5,000 one. On the flip side, charging is quite fast. It supports the quick charge function, so anyone with a proper charger can juice up the phone pretty easily and quickly to a comfortable level. However, I noticed that wireless charging has some issues. For me personally, it's not a big problem, but I know that some other users complained about this too, so it must be some general bug that should be fixed soon. The quality of the photos and videos is absolutely alright. These are some sample pictures and videos that I took the other day. It's clear that the sensor is doing its thing. It has to be said though that in terms of the pictures and videos, the functions available right out of the box are rather limited. In the case of video, I think I kind of miss the high frame rate settings. I'm sure this can be achieved with an alternative app, but still, anyone who likes to take mobile photography seriously would be disappointed. Personally, when it comes to actual photography or videos, I use my own camera, not my phone, so it's not a big problem. But once you get used to a variety of features by other manufacturers, it's a bit strange to revert back to a simplistic approach. So the hardware is a beast, but that's not why the phone is so unique. It's the seed vault and the decentralized app store which makes things so interesting. The Phantom wallet makes a good choice, especially for those who are into flipping NFTs and everything else related to the Solana ecosystem. You can access it with your fingerprint. So imagine the safety of a cold wallet without the hassle of entering PIN codes and passwords. In the decentralized app store, you can find all different types of apps which are specifically focused on Web3. I think this is great. I have been using some of them already like Audius or Brave, but the other ones are also quite interesting. Essentially, the phone makes it easy to have fun in the Web3 playground. Even though I'm not a big fan of NFTs in their current state of the market, I will probably try to mint some big money NFTs just to see what it's all about and to have some fun. Okay, so these were the nice points about the device. It needs to be said though that the phone is not bug-free. For example, just recently I have been traveling quite a lot, hopping from one country to the other, and even though I had no issues with roaming whatsoever, I placed and received calls without any problems, when I came back home, for some reason one of my SIM cards stopped taking calls and I couldn't place calls either, so the service would just simply drop. I assume it must be related to so many networks switching back and forth during my travels. Nonetheless, this is far from ideal, and when it comes to servicing the hardware, of course the options are limited. So hopefully this is nothing but a software bug, which will be patched soon, but to have an issue like this, which basically prevents you from making and taking calls, is a bit scary. So I hope my other SIM card will keep functioning. After some days with the phone, for me it was very easy to get used to the blazing fast device. Everything is just so quick and snappy, it's a pleasure to use it, especially for crypto-related applications. I guess I would find it even better if I was more involved in the world of NFTs and the Solana ecosystem in general. The issues are of course annoying, especially knowing that the servicing of the device would be challenging from where I live. And honestly, I would be quite disappointed if I had to pay the original price plus VAT plus import duties, which would have ended up costing me over $1,300, but considering that altogether I paid around $500 for this, it's not that bad. My verdict here is that for this amazing discount price, the phone is just insanely good, and I feel rather happy with it. So I would suggest to keep an eye out for further occasions when there is a similarly steep price drop or some other promotion. Also, it's great to see the world of Web3 and mobile phones coming closer to each other. Of course, for those who don't really like Android or are very much into the photography aspect of a phone, it might be a better choice to stick with Apple. But for those who are into crypto and NFTs, this phone is just perfect.